Three, two, one.
Action.
Hello, everyone. Here we are, ready for episode number 23 of our podcast, Untitled ZX.
Yep,
I'm Uncle Frank. Here's Nick.
that's
Nick,
me.
how's everything going?
Uh,
Summertime's upon us.
yeah, it's boring. I mean, there's lots of movies, but when I'm not seeing movies, I'm bored out of my mind because I haven't gotten a job secured yet. I mean, I have, but it doesn't start for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Well, summer you're supposed to be bored. You know what a great time to do during the summer when you're bored?
Do not say what I
Be,
think you're going to say.
be creative. Write some scripts, please.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Now I'm officially putting it on record.
Okay. There's documented proof that that's a thing I need to do at some point in the near or distant future.
Near future. Yeah. All right. Well, we got a few items. Got two movie reviews this time, some interesting movies, and a little bit of Star Wars time. So, why don't we jump right in? The
Yeah.
death of Robin Hood. Are
You're never going to believe how this ended.
you gonna tell me or no?
Maybe.
Tell me.
He died.
You're ruining the whole movie. Oh my
I
God,
mean,
no.
I do think it would have been really funny if they just didn't kill him and they let him live at the end of the movie called The Death of Robin Hood.
Hmm. Was it at least a spectacular death? Or
It was a quiet death. He had a very quiet end of his life. This is sort of an older Robin Hood. This isn't like him in his prime. This is more in line with the older myths for the character as opposed to the more classical swashbuckling Robin Hoods that we see the last century or two. Like this is not action hero Robin Hood. This is very morally questionable Robin Hood who's reflecting on his life's choices because
hmm.
he's wronged a lot of people and he's hurt a lot of people.
Did he die of old age?
Yes.
It doesn't seem right. Yeah, Robin Hood. I don't know that Robin Hood should die of old age.
I feel like it worked really well, though. It reminds me of, and it might just be because Hugh Jackman playing an old, washed-up hero at the end of his life, it's
Hmm.
very Logan coded. Like it reminds me of Logan a lot,
Yeah.
and I think this is probably Hugh's best performance since Logan. Honestly, he does really good.
Wow.
The last new thing I saw him in was, I guess there was the Sheep movie, but he wasn't in that very long. But he was in Deadpool 3 a couple years ago, and he really didn't have much to work with there. So. But he has a lot to work with here because this is a character study. Like there's not much action. There's a little bit at the beginning and it's very like violent,
Hmm.
but that's mostly in the opening act of the movie. Most of this is him sort of atoning for his sins almost.
Yeah, that's an interesting take and difference on the story, I
It's a
suppose.
story
Yeah.
about it's about revenge, it's about redemption and forgiveness is what this is really about.
Hmm.
Um so he ends up getting severely injured during his last fight where him and Little John are fighting these guys who are taking revenge on Little John for killing his family. Little John, played by Bill Skarsgård, dies pretty early on, but
Oh, he dies too. Wow.
yeah,
Does
but
he die of old age too, or is he fighting?
no, he dies. He goes down fighting. He dies off screen, actually. He doesn't even die on screen
Oh, wow.
because after
Hmm.
Robin Hood is injured, he keeps fighting. Robin Hood is injured really badly, and he takes him to this like island where there's this like nun who's also like supposedly some mystical healer or just a really good doctor. They drop
Uh,
him off there, and then Little John is never seen again because he dies off screen. But Little John's daughter is dropped. He sends Little John's daughter to Robin Hood on the island as well to protect her after he dies,
okay.
which ends up forming. That's actually a nice dynamic because he ends up becoming a mentor figure to the daughter too.
Right.
And you sort of see again, this is a story about him sort of finding peace after a life of crime and violence and
Yeah, right. Because he did rob and steal from the rich to give to the poor, but he did still rob and steal and kill, I guess.
yeah. And again, this is a more like old school depiction. Like he's not necessarily a heroic character here. Yes, he stole
Yeah.
from the rich, but he also killed the wrong people. He straight up states pretty on early on in the movie. He's like, no, Robin Hood didn't steal from the rich and give to the meek. He stole and killed because he liked to steal and kill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Like a
And what
psycho.
about is he married here? Or his what happened to her? That was the whole point of what's her maid Marian?
They mention her at the beginning, and he says there's no one true love for Robin Hood.
What? Did they not ever see the Disney movie?
Well, again, this is a very different take considering he's
Mhm.
not a fox here. But
Gotcha. All right, so what do we know about this director, Michael Sarnowski?
he previously did a movie called Pig with Nicolas Cage in 2021, which got a lot of awards. I have not seen it, but I've heard a lot about it. And
Hmm.
then he did A Quiet Place Day One, the Quiet Place prequel a couple years ago. I have seen that. It was solid. I liked this a lot more than that, but
Hmm.
again, this is more of a character reflection, a character study.
All right, so we got Hugh Jackman. So yeah, he needs a movie like this because I feel like some of the other movies he does are not very deep. So
Yeah, but he's a very good actor, and this actually takes advantage of his sort of
yeah,
his gravitas that he's capable of bringing. Again, it reminds me of Logan, another film he was great in with a similar
yeah.
sort of idea with a washed up hero at the end of their life.
Oh, I do want to see him. Actually, it's on Netflix now. He plays. Who's the singer he plays?
I don't, what the hell? Oh, that's a balloon, I think.
Huh?
No, I heard something popping behind me. I think it was a balloon.
Yeah,
Forget
it's
about it.
something out of the blue or like, and it's a Neil Diamond singer he plays,
Oh,
and
Song Sung Blue. I heard a lot about
he,
that.
yeah, I'm gonna watch that.
That had a decent amount of awards recognition last year. It didn't win anything, but it got a lot of it got a couple nominations last year.
I expect there's real acting in that one too. So yeah, all right, I'll check that one out. All right, tell me, and Bill Skarsgård, he's usually. How about Jodie Comer? I don't know her.
She's been in a lot of things. She's never really a big role. The only thing I've seen her in like a major, I guess she was in a Ridley Scott movie a couple of years ago. I think it was called The Last Duel.
Hmm.
She was also in the Sean Levy movie Free Guy, which I hate with every fiber of my being. She also had a cameo in Star Wars Episode 9, but she wasn't really in it for very long. She was in one of the flashbacks as Rey's mom, but
Gotcha. Okay. All
yeah, but she
right. So
played
what did you other than Hughes acting? What else was good?
I just I love the reflective nature. I think this is a very like this is about breaking a character down to his roots and sort of figuring out why he is the way he is and how he's able to overcome it. There's a particular moment where there's this one kid who comes to the island who's got like his eye shot out. It's like bad. And this kid is like the last member of the family that was killed during him and Little John's last fight.
Hmm.
So this kid goes to him or goes to the island for medical help, and he also intends to kill Robin Hood. He's here to settle a blood debt, but him and Robin Hood takes him across the lake surrounding the island, drops him off, and they have a nice little conversation where he asks him if he's ever taken a life before, and he's like, no, and he's like, go back to your family, tell them you settled the blood debt. Don't become like he basically tells them not to go down the same path he did, not to become the broken, sad mess that he became.
Hmm. Okay.
He also says that if he comes back, he'll kill him. But
Another extra incentive, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and I
Okay.
really liked that moment. That sort of him guiding someone away from the path that he took
Yeah. All
because
right.
of what that path
Interesting.
turned him into.
And who's this Murray Bartlett?
He plays the character of the leper or the leaper, who is, we don't ever get his real name, but he keeps giving these like philosophy lessons to Robin Hood. I actually know him. He had a appearance in one episode of The Last of Us on HBO a couple years ago, and I
Mhm.
really liked him there. So that was why he was a like I was like, oh, I know that guy. But this character of the leper, he always has a mask on to conceal his injuries because he's been on this island for a while
Mhm.
because of injuries he sustained, and he's talking all about redemption and forgiveness and second chances to Robin Hood. On his deathbed, we finally see his face, and it looks bad. And he's talking to Robin Hood, asking about a certain tale of Robin Hood, because Robin Hood doesn't disclose who he is. He comes up with a fake name for himself when he's on this island. So
Mhm.
he's talking to him, and he figured out that he's Robin Hood already. But he asks him about a specific tale of Robin Hood, a specific person he hurt. He's
Mhm.
like, don't you remember he chopped off his ear? And then he turns his head and you see the ear missing. You find out he's the guy who wronged him and he's been trying to, but he's again firmly believes in second chances and redemption, which is why he's been sort of culturing this friendship with Robin Hood. and
Hmm.
he promises to guard his he promises to take his secret to the grave with him as he's dying.
Hmm.
And he specifically recounts, I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, but he remembers something Robin Hood had said to him. He said that in another life we would have been drinking buddies or something along those lines. Not those exact words, I'm paraphrasing
Hmm.
here, but then after that he says this is that other life, which is it's a very powerful moment, and
Okay.
it's a very powerful movie. Like all of everything about it. Same with the
Yeah.
dynamic he sort of has with Little John's daughter, Little Margaret, who is
Hmm.
another really good character. There's a whole like plot line where she wants to build a bow and arrow. She tries to make her own, and he teaches her how to do it. So you have this whole arc. It literally ends. She's there when Robin Hood is on his deathbed, and the last thing that happens is he's guiding her as he's like bleeding out because his death was not technically natural causes. He specifically, because he found out the nun who was taking care of him, he had wronged her too. He had killed her husband and children, and he asks her to just cut him and let him slowly bleed out. And she's like, I've never taken a life before. And he's just like, you're not really. So she bleeds out slowly, but as he's doing it, he's teaching poor little Margaret how to use the bow and arrow. He's guiding her on how to pull it back, and he tells her when to let go, and when she let go, what lets go, that's when his pulse finally stops.
Hmm.
When she finally fires the bow for the first time. And
Okay. Sounds interesting.
I also really, really like the music in this movie. I don't remember the name of the composer, but the score is gorgeous.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything not work?
I wish it was a little longer just because some of the supporting characters I wish we saw more of, particularly the leper and Little John. Little John we didn't get enough of, which you'd think we'd have gotten more of him since Bill Skarsgård was third billed in the credits,
Yeah.
but he was only in it for like 10, 15 minutes for a 2 hour movie. And I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of wish he was there a little more. And then they examined a little bit of his dynamic with Robin Hood a little more, because it's very obvious when they're fighting together at this point that they have not seen each other in probably a decade or more. Like it's been
Hmm.
a long time since they've seen each other.
All right. What's your score?
Like a 9 out of 10. It's been a very controversial movie. I've seen a lot of people not liking it because a lot of people don't like the whole deconstruction of an iconic folk hero trope. People harken it back to
Well,
like
what else are you gonna do with Robin Hood at this point? I mean, they've made the movie multiple times with
yeah.
multiple actors over and over. So
A lot of people compared it to The Last Jedi and what they did with Luke Skywalker there because a lot of people don't like the whole deconstruction of the hero trope, sort of break them down to their roots, break them as a person, and then sort of bring them back. With Robin Hood, it's less so that, and it's more redemption compared to Luke, who has to find himself again.
yeah. I mean, I kind of understand the point in Star Wars where you kind of want action movies and, I don't know. You don't really need that in a Star Wars movie, but
Yeah, but I feel like it adds a little.
Robin Hood's been done so many times. Like, why can't you go this way with it?
Yeah,
So, hmm.
it's going to be a really short episode, isn't it?
So-
Oh well.
all right, let's talk about Toy Story 5. Big movie this week. Making
This
lots
is
of money.
This is such a bizarre franchise because I still feel like three was a perfect ending to it, but yet
Yeah.
they've never made a bad one. Never, not one of these films have been bad. And somehow, even in spite of them being kind of unnecessary after the end of three, they still manage to justify their own existences every single time. This one was actually directed by Andrew Stanton, who has been working at Pixar since its inception. He was a writer on the first two Toy Stories as well as four. He's directed a couple films for them too. He did Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, and Wall-E. Um,
Some good ones. Yeah,
so
some good ones.
he's been with them for a very long time.
Yeah, I've heard his name before. He's definitely one of the main guys there.
Yeah, he did a live action movie earlier this year too. He made his live action debut with a movie for Searchlight on Hulu called, I believe it was In the Blink of an Eye was the name of the movie. That one was but he's also not really used to live action. He's been working in animation his entire career, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, the original Toy Story, which he was a writer on, came out 31 years ago. So,
So crazy, yeah.
yeah.
It's got all the regular actors, I think, right?
Well, for the main trio, a lot of the other supporting characters didn't return. They did return the characters, but a couple of them have lost. A couple of the actors have passed away. Like Slinky Dog's voice actor passed away, and so did both of the actors for the Potato Heads.
Oh man.
So they,
Oh right, yeah. That's
um,
right. 'Cause one of them was the Seinfeld guy. Yeah.
it was particularly weird because Mrs. Potato Head got a recast, but she has literally no dialogue in this movie, so I don't even know why they bothered.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. All right, where do we start? Yeah, what was good?
I actually want to start with the negatives here because I feel like there's a couple pretty big ones. I
Mhm.
don't think, again, I think this was a fairly good movie. Like they continue to justify their existence, but it's obviously not to the same heights as one through three because one through three are masterpieces, and I dare I say one of the best trilogies of all time. But I don't really love how they sideline a lot of the supporting characters here.
Okay.
From the original three, the same way they do in four. Like four, Woody and Buzz and Bo Peep are the only like returning characters who really have a big role, and all the rest of the supporting cast is mostly new characters. And most of the supporting characters from the original trilogy aren't as prevalent. Like Rex, Slink, the Potato Heads, they're all like they're there, but they don't really do that much. Like they were way more involved in especially two and three. Like they get in on the action. They don't really do much here. Like they're just here for the sake of
Yeah.
being here. Um, and I guess it kind of makes sense because a lot of the supporting characters, voice actors, again, have passed away. The new guy who voices Mr. Potato Head's not even that. I mean, he's okay. He delivers some lines really well, and then some of them really badly. And there's
Hmm.
like no in between. Like sometimes it's spot on, and then sometimes he sounds nothing like the late Don Rickles at all.
Mm.
Um, Rex is still the same guy, but that's because the same guy is still alive. But
Yeah.
um, and there were
Well, all right. So we don't see the normal cast, but I'm thinking, maybe 4 and 5 are just meant to be different than the start.
they're more character driven, and this goes back to four as well. Four felt like an epilogue. I'm bringing the Logan analogy back. That's like Woody's Logan is
Yeah.
what I think of four as. Woody was Woody's, or four was Woody's epilogue. That was sort of him finally finding a purpose beyond being a toy. Like sort of
Yeah.
it's always been how can I be a good toy, but in four is how can he what does he want for the first time in his
Mhm.
life? He gets to think what he wants. And it did it in a way that worked. And I think the thing that there was sort of a big debate going into this is why are we bringing him back? He parted ways from everyone. It's like
Mhm.
there needs to be a good reason, and for what it's worth, there is. They make it make sense. Like Woody is not the kind of guy, even if he parts way with his friends, he's never going to abandon them forever. He's going to come back when they need his help. Like he's not gonna just he keeps in touch with them always because they're still his family. And he's not going to like completely part ways. So them his return in the narrative made sense and didn't ruin his ending from four. Like it didn't undermine his arc from four. He doesn't really do much here. Like him coming back doesn't really serve the story all that much. He's just here because it's Toy Story and Toy Story needs Woody, but
Right.
like he's not really all that interesting. Although I think that actually is kind of a good thing because it lets Buzz do things again because Buzz was kind of useless in four and kind of an idiot with the whole inner voice bit, which was really annoying, but and that's going to be a lot of my talking points is they made Buzz not stupid this time.
Nice. Okay. That's good.
Also the animation is not as good as four's. Four was like stunning. Like four was a gorgeous movie.
Really? The animation's not as good. I wonder why. They just cheaped out on it?
Maybe I think it's of that, but I think they also wanted it to be a little more classic Pixar. Like it
Hmm.
still looks good, obviously. It feels very Toy Story 3 in the way it looks, which already looked great for the time and still holds up very well. I think even 2, which came out 27 years ago, still looks very good.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
So the animation was fine, but maybe not quite as good as 4.
yeah, 4 they were working like crazy overtime. Like I don't know what the animators were on there, but I would
Hmm.
love to see them on it again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um,
All right,
but
so
it still
Buzz
looks
Buzz
great.
was better this time.
Yeah, Buzz was more involved but it's not really his movie. This is Jesse's story. This is Jesse's movie in the same way that Toy Story 4 was Woody's. this is sort of the culmination of her character arc because she wasn't really that big of a character in four, but five is her movie. Like, and I think that was kind of, I feel like they want this to be a second trilogy. There's already rumors that they're going to greenlight two more movies very soon, which is kind of insane, but and
Yeah,
I
that's
think
crazy.
they're
But I
getting a
guess it's just
little,
they just can't give up on making as much money, I suppose.
yeah. But the thing is with Toy Story, they don't make them all the time. Like they're not like a Marvel movie where there's like three of them every year, or even like the Minions where there's one every other year. Toy Story has huge gaps between the films. There was 4 years between the first two, 11 between two and three, nine between three and four, and another 7 years between four and five. So
Hmm.
they still have pretty big gaps, although if they greenlight two more films, I do think they'll end up putting them
They'll
out
shorten it a little bit,
a
yeah.
little quicker, which I think is a little weird, but I kind of like the idea of this being a second trilogy because the second trilogy is obviously they're not with Andy anymore, they're with Bonnie, which was what happened at the end of three, at the end of the first trilogy.
Hmm.
I've seen Andrew Stanton straight up talk about how he thinks it should be a second trilogy with their time with Bonnie, but also each film is more character driven and as like sort of like a closure for each main character's arc. Again, four was Woody, five was Jesse. By that logic, six would be Buzz, which
Does
I'm all for.
does Jesse's arc has an ending here too? Would you
Yes,
say?
in a way. I don't feel like it's as concrete as Woody's. Like if they really wanted to, they could do more for her, but they give closure to like her biggest trauma that's been lingering for 27 years since Toy Story 2. The whole thing with her old owner who had abandoned her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It deals
Gotcha.
with that. It connects to that very heavily because she ends up getting accidentally taken back to her old home, which is no longer owned by her old owner, but she ends up having sort of an existential crisis as the technology starts to take over, and she fears that she's going to become obsolete and abandoned again, and she's
Hmm.
doubting that she has this sort of purpose. There's a beautiful end. The way they sort of conclude her arc is amazing, actually, where they have her sitting by the tire swing that her and her old owner used to play at, that her old owner used to play with her by her
Hmm.
old house, and she finds buried under there a like one of those there's like time capsules. She finds a time capsule that's buried there that was, and she digs it up and she looks at a photo in it of her owner all grown up with a child. So it's just implied that the old owner had left the time capsule for her daughter, but she finds out that she named her daughter Jessie, and it turns out that she finally realizes that she wasn't abandoned and she wasn't unimportant,
Yeah.
that she actually did matter, that she had an impact on someone's life, which is sort of everything she
Wow.
needs here in this sort of arc.
Wow. Okay. Hmm.
And
Sounds
that's
like a
like
good one to see.
really powerful. That's the thing with these movies is even when it feels like we're debating whether or not we really need these, they always feel like they're never irrelevant. Like it's a franchise that has simultaneously overstayed its welcome, but also never fails to be relevant. Like
Yeah.
it's not one of those franchises where a new one will come out and no one will care. Like people will watch it. People will watch it because they don't make them when they don't have a reason. They don't. That's
Yeah.
why they
They start with a good story always. Yeah.
That's why they wait so long between installments. That's why we're
Yeah.
not getting one every other year because they take
Yeah.
their time. They don't make a new one unless they feel there's a reason to. And I do think the whole toys versus tech debate was a good angle to take. I think it was kind of questionable because they could have gone with the boomer mentality of all machines bad. There's nothing good about them whatsoever, and like the whole old man shouts at cloud type of thing, which
Hmm.
part of me was kind of afraid they'd go there, but they actually handle it in a shockingly nuanced sort of way. In the way they handle the tech debate, where yes, it is portrayed as having all these negative qualities, and the main device, the tablet lily pad, is the film's antagonist,
Hmm.
but they don't have it so she's like exclusively a bad thing. They have it so at the end of the movie, they realize that yes, she made some big mistakes and ruined this poor kid's life accidentally, but they also find out that she can help fix it too. So
Hmm.
the tablet ends up getting redeemed, and they end up sort of showing that there is good to this because yes, you can connect people. She had connected Bonnie with the wrong people, but she can connect them with people who actually would be friends for her, because the whole story is that Bonnie's not making any friends, and then they connect her with these friends from her dance class, but they're all jerks.
Oh wow, that's very relatable too.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like in the original trilogy they didn't really do Andy as sort of a character much, and even the last two movies, I feel like Bonnie wasn't necessarily a character, but
Yeah.
she actually has a journey as a character too. Like the kid in this story is finally like connected to the main plot in a way that's sort of meaningful.
Yeah, so she's got a lot more lines and she's around much more, I guess.
And she has an actual arc. Like it's not just getting back to her, they're legitimately trying to help her here.
Hmm. I wonder why they're doing it now, except I will say the animation in the very early ones for the humans wasn't that good.
I mean, part of me agrees, especially when you look at some of the character models that are just Andy with hair.
Yeah, or like Sid was always weird looking
Yeah.
when he was
It was always kind of weird though, because the main two characters, yes, they're toys, but they're very humanoid toys.
yeah, I know, but it's enough. They're humanoid toys, but they're enough of a toy that you don't have to be perfect with the animation, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because they are still a little stylized in the way they look.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. So, but now the animation is so good that I can imagine they did Bonnie really well.
yeah,
So, hmm.
yeah, they've come a long way since the first movie.
And so did Buzz, you said Buzz had a bigger role this time too?
Yeah, they actually sort of go into his relationship with Jesse because it's been very obvious since Jesse was first introduced in Toy Story 2 that he had a crush on her, but
Yeah.
they actually deal with that. The movie opens with, you remember the fork, the spork from the second or the last movie?
Hmm.
The movie opens with sort of the spork getting married to a knife, and Jesse is marrying them. They actually do sequences of like the playtime sequences are actually animated real. They're animated in sort of a Spider-Verse-y way, which is kind of interesting.
Huh.
So they animate them, and there were cut quite a few, but it opens with the fork and the knife getting married, and when they throw the bouquet and who gets married next, Buzz catches it and then
Oh my
hides it
God.
because he's really trying to do it right.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay. That's
So
pretty cool.
the whole Buzz's whole bit in the movie is that he keeps trying to propose to her and it keeps going spectacularly wrong.
Does he propose in the end?
Yeah, there's actually a subplot line that I really love. The movie literally starts with on this deserted island and there's this crashed like cargo ship and there's a shipment of this new Buzz Lightyear model, these high-tech buzzes that are like technologically compatible. So we've got this whole so you one of them wakes up and climbs out of their box and starts waking all the other buzzes up and they're all like they're not aware that they're toys yet. They're more like they're like our Buzz was when we first met him in the first movie, or the utility belt Buzz from the second movie, where
Yeah.
they actually think they're space rangers, and there's like 50 of them, and it's really funny because they're all still voiced by Tim Allen, obviously. And the thing that's so interesting about them is because when they were first revealed, because they announced that they were going to be part of the movie a while ago, they had a different design in the earlier version. They had a different model, but everyone was like, oh, they're going to be villains, they're going to be antagonists, they're going to cause problems in the movie, but they really weren't hostile. And I think that's for the better because we've done the evil Buzz Lightyear bit like 4 times already. So
Yeah, he's had some villains. Yeah.
yeah, we've had like evil versions or even just hostile versions. Because when we did the belt version of him in two, that was in like the demo mode, he
Mhm.
was hostile. He wasn't a villain per se. He was just kind of he was just kind of didn't know what was going on, but he was still hostile to them. Or we have like in the third movie when they reprogrammed him back to demo mode and Lotso brainwashed him. Like we've just had hostile or villainous versions of Buzz Lightyear. Even in the Buzz Lightyear spin-off movie, they made it so Zurg was actually Buzz from the future instead of Buzz's father, like the gag suggests.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but this it's a whole subplot line. Like they're not even really connected to the main plot for like 2/3 of the movie. Like they're just off doing their own thing. They do come in clutch at the end. They end up helping them because they have to rescue the tablet and bring it back to Bonnie to help her make the friend. But
Hmm.
these high-tech buzzes, their wings actually split in four and have propellers on them. So these high-tech buzzes actually can fly
Oh my gosh.
and they end up coming in clutch at the end because they really and they there is a brief moment where they're hostile where they kidnap Woody, but that's over a misunderstanding that our Buzz sorts out in like 30 seconds. So
Hmm.
he's just like, nope, he's a friend, he's fine, we're fine, we need to go rescue someone, come on guys. Like they sort that out pretty quickly, but their whole plot line was like shockingly heartwarming because half of it is just them trying to find because they find a picture, well, they see a star in the sky and then they're like star command, so they determine they have to get to the star. And then they find a computer and they find a picture of Jesse who is missing now. And
Mhm.
Jesse's wearing the sheriff badge, which is shaped like a star. So they immediately assume she's their commander and they have to go find her, which is how they end up finding the main character. But during there's a couple things they actually explain with some of the lore here. Like, because a lot of people have always debated or questioned why Buzz, the original Buzz, would like drop when a person was in there, in when a person showed up, even
Right.
because originally he didn't recognize the fact that he was a toy.
Mhm.
And we see them do that during one scene, and then they all get up and they're like so confused. They're questioning why they dropped, which makes it seem like it's an instinctual thing with all toys, is they just by instinct go back to like being,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Being a toy.
yeah. There's also a really sort of their plot line's actually kind of heartwarming because there's a part where one of them they see people coming and they all climb up this tree to hide, but one of them slips and doesn't make it and has to play the toy, and then he gets picked
Mhm.
up by this kid. This kid just finds him and takes him, and they go on this whole mission. They go to their campsite because this is a whole family going camping, and they go to the campsite and they're here to rescue him, obviously. But they then look in the tent and he's happy with the kid. He's happy being owned and making them happy. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just kind of he gives them the thumbs up and here they're like, okay, we're gonna let him do his thing.
So he realized they realized he's a toy at that point.
Yeah, they actually have them all become toys, and there's a post-credit scene that's actually quite funny where
Mhm.
there's like this poor kid that's sitting alone at a playground because he's got no friends, and then a Buzz Lightyear comes from the heavens. Just fly. They all just start falling from they all just start like flying in. They just start falling from the sky, and this kid gets a Buzz Lightyear, and all the other kids get Buzz Lightyears, and even the
Oh,
teacher gets a Buzz Lightyear. But they're again,
yeah,
these are the high tech models that are more interactive with like other
yeah.
technology. And it ends again. This is a post credit scene, but it I didn't actually stay for because I forgot there was one. But then I watched a camera version of it on YouTube, where right at
Mhm.
the end, some kid pulls out the high tech Zerg out of his backpack, and the Zerg just starts laughing, and he's like, "So we meet again, my son."
Oh
And then
boy.
all like 50 of the buzzes all just start yelling, "No!"
Well, if they do another movie, what do we think it's going to be?
I honestly think, and this goes back to the whole each one being a character sort of epilogue, sort of giving them
Yeah.
closure to their character arc. I think that will end up being Buzz's movie. Like I think six will be Buzz's. I think the army of Buzzes might be involved somehow still.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm trying
part
to think where they could go with Buzz's story, but yeah, or what
There's
he's
one thing I
resolved.
kind of want to see. I want to see them mirror his story almost from the first movie, the mirror his and Woody's dynamic, because in the original, we have the whole conflict of Buzz is this shiny new toy and Woody is this old, like 30-year-old outdated toy. Buzz is now, at this point in the timeline, over 20 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the movie's been around for 30 years, but that much time has not passed in universe, obviously, because there has not been 16 years in universe since Toy Story 3. There's been like 3 years, but.
Well, six would be the end of the next trilogy, so they could do a Death of Robin Hood for Buzz.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna kill him off. I think they'll give them
I
a
don't know.
happy.
They haven't dealt with death yet, but
Yeah, but
who knows? That's a tough kid
yeah,
topic though.
yeah, I kind of want to see, like I said, Buzz becoming obsolete. And I saw some people pitch an idea because there was again the controversial Buzz Lightyear spin-off movie that nobody really cared about. I didn't mind it, but they
Mhm.
didn't. A lot of people think it would have been fine on its own if they didn't include the blurb at the beginning that in 1995 this was the movie Andy saw that made him want to get the toy because I really don't
Mhm.
think that would have been the case because the normal Buzz Lightyear costume does not show up until the last like 30 seconds of the movie. I mean, he still looks like Buzz Lightyear, like he's got a more primitive version of the Space Ranger suit, but like the shiny classic Buzz Lightyear look doesn't show up to the very end.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the idea, and I saw someone suggest this online. Someone suggested that the movie is not actually the original that Andy saw, but instead there was a period in the 2010s where like they were making these dark, mature, gritty versions of like classic cartoons and comic books, which is why we got like a dark, mature Superman or a dark, mature Fantastic Four. It was sort of the
Mhm.
Dark Knight effect. Everyone wanted to make a dark, gritty version of everything that used to be bright
Mhm.
and colorful and vibrant. And I like the idea that Lightyear, the movie, existed in that time period. And I think
Mm,
it'd be kind of fun if we bring in that version of Buzz, or a toy version of that movie's version of Buzz, as like the more advanced version who's got more t articulation and more modern play features, and sort of
yeah.
give our Buzz the same existential crisis Woody had in the original when Buzz himself first showed up, that feeling of
Mm,
becoming obsolete. Granted
mhm.
that, and I just kind of want to see an interaction between the Tim Allen and Chris Evans versions of Buzz Lightyear, but
All right, I guess we'll see. How about the music?
Randy Newman is great. Randy Newman is always great. I mean, his whole family is great. The whole Newman bloodline. They've got a whole dynasty of composers. They've got Thomas Newman. They've got Alfred Newman, who created the 20th Century Fox fanfare. Like, their whole
Hmm.
family is great. And Randy Newman's been composing this franchise and a couple of Pixar's other franchises since the beginning. He's got a very recognizable sort of aesthetic to his scores, and I don't really know how to describe it, but I vividly remember once I watched this movie called Pleasantville with Mother a couple of years ago, and I didn't know he did the music for it, but I was just listening to it, and I'm like, "That's Randy Newman, isn't it?" And then Mom looks it up, and
Well, I didn't know. I knew that movie. Yeah, I didn't know he did that. Yeah,
she's like, "Oh, that was Rand." And she's
that's
like, "Oh, you're
crazy.
right, that
Yeah,
is
it
Randy
does
Newman."
have a distinct. I remember the music to that was distinctive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, that is definitively Randy Newman. It's
Hmm.
very sort of. Yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect from it.
Okay.
Like,
All right. Well, sounds like a lot going on with this movie, so I'll have to check this one out.
yeah, I actually quite liked it. I feel
And
like
I might be able to get my 5-year-old to go to it. So there
you
you
might
go.
be able to.
All right, let's move over to Star Wars time.
Yeah,
So
we've
you
got
had a chance to go watch The Mandalorian and Grogu again, huh?
yeah, it
What made you want to do that?
I was having an interview at an AMC. It was on a Wednesday, and there was
Uh-huh.
nothing new out that I hadn't already seen because it was a smaller theater, so it didn't have some of the littler movies I wanted to see. It was
Yep.
it had less auditorium, so they were only really showing the blockbusters. And I decided it's Star Wars, it's tradition. I'm already there. I might as well.
Yeah. All
Um,
right. So now what do you think?
we're bringing it down to a 5 out of 10. It has not aged well. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like I gave it a little bit of leeway because the fun of the crowd on opening night in IMAX was kind of fun, and the novelty of a new Star Wars movie in theaters was just kind of nice, even if it wasn't a very good one. When you
Mhm.
don't have that novelty, when you don't have that energy in the room, it loses a lot, I feel like. There's still some things I didn't mind. Like, I think mostly just the action sequences and the visuals are still fairly fun, although I do think the best sequence was still that 10-minute opening on the snow planet that is not Hoth, where they have the AT-ATs and Mando taking down the AT-ATs. Beyond that, I don't really love anything about it,
Hmm.
other than the Lego sets that they've made from it, because they've actually been on a roll for most of them, except for the pricing. The prices have been awful, but that's just modern Lego Star Wars for you. Um, I feel like it struggled to keep me engaged a second time. I actually found myself dozing off a lot during the second act. The first act, I tried to stay invested, but by like the time we were done, because again, it feels very chopped up. This movie, you see, the first hour feels like a standalone episode of the show, and then the
Mhm.
next hour and 12 minutes feels like them trying to drag on the plot line of the episode we had already wrapped up.
Mhm.
And once you get past that like hour mark, it really starts to struggle because it really starts to feel like they're just trying to drag an hour long episode and do a 2.5 hour movie. Like, it doesn't even feel like 3 episodes chopped up. It feels like one episode, and then the consequences of it dragged on for no real reason.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel that this is not a story that's meant to be a movie. Like, this feels like a one-off filler episode in like a season of the show.
Mhm.
Like, the stakes are just so low, and I don't mind low stakes movies. Like, I don't mind it when the stakes aren't high if there's something interesting to do with the characters, and they just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Mando or Din does not change or grow at all throughout the film. Grogu, I guess, becomes a little more independent, but that's sort of, we've been doing that with him for the entirety of the last season of the show as well. Um,
So
also,
this was a sleeping movie.
yes. There's a lot of sort of talking about not I don't hate I feel like I'm wording this really weirdly, but I feel like there's a lot of sequences where characters just sort of talk at the audience, it feels like, where they sort of try to explain, particularly with Rada the Hutt, there's like three different times where he explains what his motivations as a character are. He's like, I'm not my father, I'm my own man. Do you know how hard it is to be your own man when your father is Jabba the Hutt? And I'm like, Rada, you've said this 12 times. We get it. I get the
Yeah.
idea. Please.
Yeah, you like it to be a little more subtle than that.
Yeah. I'm like, and even him saying it once is one thing, but having that same conversation like four times is like,
Yeah.
okay, we're getting a little repetitive here. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
I also think the stuff with the droid Gatra is kind of weird because it's a deep cut reference, the droid Gatra, which is a group of like droid mercenaries built from like salvaged parts. Like they've got parts from Clone Wars era droids. They've got B1 battle droids, B2 battle droids, BX battle droids, KX security droids, HK-87 droids, etc., etc. They've got a lot of different droids. But there's a weird thing that happens with them at the end of the movie because the Hutts are hiring this like mercenary group as security, which is fine, but the Hutts die during the final battle and they keep attacking, which doesn't really make sense because it's like your source of income is now dead.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not being
so
paid anymore, so why would they keep working?
yeah, and it's kind of inconsistent because then you have the bounty hunter Embo from the Clone Wars, who's one of the film's main villains. And when the Hutts fall into the pit and get eaten by the giant dragon snake, they're calling to him. They're like, "Save us, bounty hunter!" And he's just like, "Nope," and he just pieces out. He's like, "No," he's like, "Nope, you're worthless to me now," and he just pieces out. He just walks away. Embo
That's the
was
trouble with bounty hunters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Embo
No
was kind
bounty,
of
no
an
hunter.
yeah. Embo was kind of an interesting or kind of bizarre inclusion because he's like he was a recurring character back in the Clone Wars.
Hmm.
Like he's just kind of a weird character to be in this movie because I still feel like if they needed to include a random Glup Shido kind of bounty hunter character that's like a returning character from some other Clone Wars thing, I still feel like it should have been Dirge, who is from the old expanded universe in the 2003 Clone Wars series, which is a different show from the more popular Clone Wars series. But he, in the expanded universe, has a sort of vendetta against the entire Mandalorian culture. He hates them, he despises them. So he would have had a more of a grudge, more of a reason to keep going after the Hutts died. And I feel like he would have been a more determined threat. But also, he would have been more of a physical challenge, I feel like, because he's a member of a species called the Jedi. And the Jedi are basically unkillable. They've been introduced in canon. Dirge actually does exist in canon. We haven't seen much of him in the new canon, but he does exist in it. Their whole thing is they're like made of these tendrils basically, and you can like chop off their limbs and they'll just reattach them. You can literally rip them apart. Like there was a fight scene in the 2003 Clone Wars where he swallows Obi-Wan whole, and then Obi-Wan uses a force burst to like blow him up, like rip him
Hmm.
apart, and he just comes back together, puts himself back together. There's literally only two ways to kill them. You either have to destroy the brain or literally vaporize every single piece of their body, which is only possible by launching them. In the old expanded universe, the way he died is Anakin launched him into a star.
Sounds like that would do it. Yeah.
Like there's literally only two ways to kill them. I feel like this feels like just me being a weird nerd who thinks they should have included a different Glup Shido than the one they did, but
So what do you think they're going to go with this thing? Is there going to be another story?
I think I've heard a lot of rumors about where they're going to go because they've said they might do another. If this does well at the box office, they'll make another Mando movie. If it
Hmm.
doesn't, they'll just bring them back to Disney Plus and do another season of the show or something. The movie's not doing too hot at the box office, so it looks like new season of the show it is. But I feel like as a Star Wars movie, and this feels like it should have had more to it. Like, if you're going from a movie to a TV show, I feel like, or from a TV show to a movie rather, I feel like you have to up the stakes. You have to make it a little bigger scale, especially because Mando started serving as a backdoor pilot for like three other spin-off shows that are all going to culminate in a big crossover. a war for the fate of the New Republic with Grand Admiral Thrawn and all that jazz. It feels like if you're doing this whole bit where you're trying to use Mando as a launching off point for this whole new time period that has all these different shows that intersect with one big conflict, it feels like if you're going to bring it to the big screen, you need to escalate the stakes and maybe tie it to building up that bigger conflict with Grand Admiral Thrawn. But it feels so disconnected from everything, even its own show. Like it barely feels like a continuation of Mando season three, bar on a very surface level. Like it's a filler episode, is basically what it is. And
Yeah, I think you're right. If you're on a TV show and you bring it to a big screen, you better be really good.
luckily, I don't think this is going to hurt Star Wars movies crazy in the long run because it sounds to me like Disney executives and Lucasfilm executives aren't really putting too much faith in this movie. Like, this movie was never going to be the make or break for the future of this franchise on the big screen. This was a
Mhm.
side project that Bob Iger greenlit on his way out.
Yeah.
But I
Well, and he
feel
still picked up some $400 million, so you know.
Yeah, but I think next year's film, Star Wars Starfighter, that is the one it sounds like the executives are sort of banking on to make or break the future of this franchise. And I do
Mm.
think that might have a bigger draw to it, even if it's a smaller story about new characters that aren't like hugely important. But I've heard, I mean, not really I've heard, but we know that the new film is going to be that Starfighter is going to take the franchise into the future. Like it's going to be the first story set in a brand new time period.
Mm.
It's going to be the first movie that takes place, or the first project in general to take place after the events of the Rise of Skywalker. So we're going beyond the end of the
Do you
Skywalker
know
saga.
anything about what it's going to be about?
We have there's a lot of rumors, a lot of theories based on the casting, mostly revolving around the three. We've heard a lot about the three sort of leads, Ryan Gosling, Flynn Gray, and Amy Adams. It From what I'm getting, and this might be like terribly wrong, what I'm sort of getting from it is that Ryan Gosling is going to be this sort of pilot or smuggler type character, and Amy Adams's character is going to be his sister, who's a former Jedi on the run from some dark force user. And the sister is supposedly going to die pretty early on, but she's got a son who's force sensitive that needs to get to the Jedi, which is Flynn Gray's character. And it sounds like it's going to end up being the lone wolf and cub thing where he has to take his force sensitive nephew to the Jedi. And at this point in the timeline, it's 5 years after episode nine. There's not really much of a Jedi Order. There's like Rey and Finn, and that's it.
Mm.
So I do think Rey's probably going to show up at the end of this movie. I feel like she's going to end up having a Luke Skywalker Mando season two moment where she shows up at the very end.
I'm not sure how I feel about Ryan Gosling or in a Star Wars movie, but
Yeah, I'm just happy he didn't bring Ryan Reynolds with him because Sean Levy's last three blockbusters all had Ryan Reynolds in them. I do not like Ryan Reynolds, so I'm very happy we do not have him here.
well,
Um,
both of them, I don't know, they can be fine in certain movies, but I don't know. Ryan Gosling or he could be fine, but he's not I don't consider him like the greatest actor.
I
Yeah.
think I think he's a little more versatile than Reynolds. Reynolds is just obnoxious humor. Gosling, I've seen him in like some legitimately great roles.
Yeah.
Gosling, I mean, I always think about Blade Runner 2049, phenomenal, phenomenal film, and he's the lead in that. But
Yeah.
um,
I don't know. We'll see. Because all the other Star Wars movies always started with a cast that wasn't known, you
yeah,
know?
they
So,
Yeah, so this is an interesting direction to take, but I feel like a lot of people are sort of banking on this sort of leading into Simon Kinberg's trilogy, which a lot of people believe may be the next saga after the Skywalker saga, the next big sort of storyline. And I
mhm.
think some of the villains might have something to do with it because we have a vague idea of where our villains are going to be in this movie. We have Mia Goth's character, who we're assuming is probably going to be some like dark side force user. We know there's going to be a lightsaber duel of some type in this movie. And we know that Tom Cruise was on the camera when they shot the lightsaber fight because he just showed up to set one day and decided he was going to man a camera. But because he's Tom Cruise, he just does that.
I guess he's loud. Yeah.
Yeah, they just didn't question it. And there's also going to be Matt Smith's character, who we're assuming is probably some warlord or imperial officer type character. This is after episode nine, so First Order, I guess it would be ex First Order.
Mhm.
We also know there's going to be some kind of stormtrooper variant because there's this reputable source that leaks information about new Star Wars Black Series figures, and the guy used to leak factory parts and like prototype pieces as well, so we know he's reputable. Just started leaking stuff about some Black Series figures coming soon, including the first wave for the film, which will include the Flynn Gray character, Ryan Gosling's character, Mia Goth's character, and the fourth figure from the first wave is supposed to be some stormtrooper variant of some sort,
Hmm.
which again, at this point in the timeline, I'm assuming this is like First Order remnant. This is the remains of the First Order, what's left of them.
Because the movie, they filmed it already, right?
Yes, it wrapped production probably
Hmm.
6 months ago, give or take, which I appreciate because Sean Levy's last movie wrapped production 2 months before it came out. So
Wow.
it's
Okay.
like, okay, he wrapped a year and a half before it came out this time, which means he actually has time to work on post-production, which means maybe it won't look ugly.
Yeah, it means you got a lot of material to work on. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, what else about Star Wars time?
This was a much more disjointed sort of section, I feel like, because it was just sort of me spitballing things about the movie that pissed me off
Yeah.
more this time than they did the last time, and where it's going to go next, and my very cautious optimism for the future of this franchise,
Yeah.
which I think, again, Starfighter is going to make or break, because if Starfighter doesn't
Yeah.
do well, if Starfighter doesn't work out, then we're going to be stuck with Star Wars being TV only for the rest of eternity. So,
Yep.
and I don't
Well, we'll
really like
see. I
that.
don't know. They're putting it all on Ryan Gosling or his back, so we'll see
Yeah.
how that goes.
I think if they
All right.
market it well, it could turn out well. Because Mando wasn't marketed very well either, and they didn't make it look like it was a movie. Like a lot of the early marketing just felt like another installment of the TV show. Nobody knew it was a movie.
The only other thing I don't like the name Starfighter.
Oh yeah, no, it's terrible. The title is awful. They've been on a generational roll with some of the worst names for the movies. Because The Mandalorian and
No.
Grogu was a terrible title too, and Starfighter is so vague.
It's vague, and there was already a Starfighter movie in the 80s or 90s, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And like
I don't know.
Starfighter, it's not only is it vague, like Starfighter is a class of starship in the franchise. Like it's a
Right.
classification of
I don't
like
like the name. So
it's like I'm part of me's hoping they change it, but I don't really expect much from the guy who named the movie who named the last Deadpool movie Deadpool and Wolverine because it's a Deadpool movie with Wolverine in it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not really expecting
At
much.
least there you know what you're getting, I suppose. With Starfighter, you have no idea what it's even going to be about, right?
I
So
mean, part of it might be a good thing. I do like that they're shrouding it in mystery, but I also don't really have much hope in Sean Levy to deliver like mind-boggling payoffs. So,
yeah. Hey, what's the next movie you're seeing?
I'm seeing Supergirl this week, which I think looks pretty good, but some of the early impressions are kind of mixed. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I saw a preview of it, and yeah, I'm like, well, that's a different looks like a different take on it, so it should be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, they're finally sort of differentiating her because this is based on the Woman of Tomorrow comic run, which everyone sort of describes as the quintessential Supergirl comic story.
Hmm.
And I think the thing with that is they're finally, because for the longest time, Supergirl's character was literally just, what if Clark Kent was a woman? And that's basically all she is. They're sort of trying to make her stand out more as a character
Yeah.
because I think the thing that they're finally capitalizing on her is her trauma because she wasn't sent away from Krypton as a baby like Clark was. She was a teenager. She had memories of it. Like Clark had no memory of it, but
Mm.
she was there. She saw it all burn to the ground and she has memories of it burning to the ground. She's older than Clark by a lot.
Yeah, all right, that should be interesting.
And
So,
she was stranded on
and
like an
yet and yet she's not called Superwoman, she's called Supergirl.
yeah, she is technically older than Clark, but she's also younger than Clark because she was floating on an asteroid for like 10 years
Hmm.
and time was like stilted or something. I don't know how it
Yeah.
works. I don't understand it, but maybe the movie will help me understand it and maybe it won't. Who knows?
All right. Well, looking forward to that. So I
Yep,
think with that, we can wrap everything up this week. And
we can.
yeah, good one.
Yep.
All right. And
Cut.
cut.